there's more and more young people going to bonsai clubs, scholars even, and students, and young working people. So the young people are getting into bonsai. I can recall that even as a child I was always interested in plants, and especially potted plants. And then when I studied in the early 80s, I remember reading an article on bonsai in some magazine, and with most beautiful photos. I think it must have been a Japanese article because it had mostly pines and junipers and things. And I just knew, when I read that article, I just knew that was what I wanted to do. Of course, that time there were no internet. Internet only became available in the mid-90s, I think. I didn't know about bonsai clubs. So I went to the library, took out some books, and they were mostly on Japanese trees, probably written by Japanese people. I remember the photos with snow on those pines. I still decided I'm going to try though. Got myself some trees, and I remember I kept them in the bathroom, thinking that with the humid conditions and the hot water from the shower, it will benefit them. Of course, they all died. And then I lost interest. I thought maybe the Japanese are fooling us. They don't want us to know everything. And then in 1986, I got a job in Pietermaritzburg. And in that year, I went to the Royal Agricultural Show, which is held there annually. And there, to my surprise, the Pietermaritzburg Bonsai Society had an exhibition there at this show. And they, to my amazement, had indigenous trees. I remember a lot of ficus, olives, acacias. And I was so amazed that you can actually do bonsai with indigenous trees. And they had little brochures which they handed out, telling about the club and when they meet in it. And of course, the very next meeting they had, I joined, and I've been involved in bonsai ever since. Look, like most beginners, I made some mistakes. I already mentioned keeping plants indoors and in the bathroom. I also, I tried in the beginning to bonsai any species I could find. When it looked like it's something that grows, I tried it. And I wasted a lot of time and money and energy on trying things that didn't work, or I should have known that couldn't work. And that's where going to a club helps you. People, they've done those mistakes, so you don't have to do it. I remember potting things into bonsai pots too early. They were little sticks, and they never looked good, and they never developed further. So that's a warning. At one stage I had just too many trees. I know it's good to have lots of trees because you practice on them techniques and that, but I just had too many. I realized at one stage that I was neglecting my trees. So I got rid of a lot. And yes, I killed some trees from over-loving them, especially during winter. I watered too much, and things like my conduits and things I killed by overwatering them. So quite a few mistakes that I learned from, and luckily with guidance from other people, I adjusted, and now hardly ever lose any trees anymore. When I was in Windhoek, I was hospitalized for emergency once for about 8 or 10 weeks. And my family worried more about me than my trees, which is I'm glad about. But yes, in Windhoek with the hot and dry weather, lots of my trees died, which is unfortunate, but a couple survived. I've got quite a big black monkey thorn that survived, and the reason was he was still in a big growing pot and had more soil in it, so it kept more moisture. There's one or two conduits which were in big growing pots, so they survived. And it was a blessing maybe in disguise that they didn't get water so much, because they don't need much water. So, and there's a couple of others, so they survived, and mostly due to being in big growing pots than just being in bonsai pots. Luckily, losing some trees didn't kill my passion. I stayed enthusiastic. I was a member of the Windhoek Kai, so they motivated me. I had a good friend at work, Terence O'Flaherty. He did bonsai, and often we talked at work and made sketches of where we were going. So I lost trees, but not my enthusiasm and my passion. And just rebuilding up my collection again. I got cuttings from people, I bought trees from nurseries, dug one or two, and just slowly again build up my my collection from there. When I moved from Pietermaritzburg to Windhoek, of course it was totally different. You mustn't tell anybody this, but I didn't have permits to take my small collection to Windhoek, and I convinced the furniture removal guy to pack them in boxes and put them in the back of the truck, and we took them in that way. But Windhoek's totally different. You know, Pietermaritzburg, subtropical climate, very humid and hot conditions and high rainfall, where Windhoek is very dry and very hot. And where I lived, we had frost, so I had to adjust. Luckily, with the knowledge and the help of those club members, I managed. And then moving from Windhoek back to Pretoria, same story. I took them in the back of a truck, and Pretoria is very, very good conditions for bonsai. We got fairly high rainfall. We got very good climate. Where I live, I do have frost, but I protect my trees, the little Bonsaiwithromano. And it's actually easier to do bonsai here in Pretoria than the other two places I were. And you adjust. When you belong to a club, the members help you, the members guide you, and you learn through your mistakes as well, and which trees to protect, and how much water based on the climate and all that. So you adjust, yes. Losing a large portion of my collection in Windhoek. There was a gentleman in Windhoek, Bertus de Bruin. He had the most beautiful little Mame Bonsaiwithromano. I admired those little trees, and they were small, and they had these small leaves. And luckily, Bertus was so kind to give me some of his little trees in plastic bags and cuttings and that. And I started my Bonsaiwithromano collection from that. And they are the most amazing little trees. I don't know if I've got a special specimen, but they make minute little leaves. They are very easy to grow. It's amazing. They've got few roots. You know, I've got plants that's got big, healthy canopies, and when you transplant, they got hardly any roots, which is amazing. So they're very suited for small trees. They're very suited for small pots and very flat pots because of not having a lot of roots. They don't like the cold though. I've made myself 2 trolleys, so when winter comes, I watch out for the colder days, and I put them in the trolleys and put them in the garage at night and out in the morning again. But they are the most amazing trees. I haven't seen in South Africa any species that, or the ones I've got, that the leaves reduces so easily. And they are very rewarding trees. They're very easy, and for a lazy person like me, it's a perfect tree to grow. You asked about styling. Yes, I was very much into very traditional styles. You know, left, right, back branches. I still got a big spec that's like that. I'm moving away from that lately. The last couple of years, more to the natural styles that we see our trees in South Africa. But Davy, I can recommend to anybody who can get hold of them. I was very lucky to, throughout my bonsai journey and career, I was involved at clubs, and there were always knowledgeable people. You know, starting in Maritzburg, very small club, no great names, but good enough people to guide you, and they got me on the right track. And even Windhoek as well, like I mentioned, Bertus de Bruin with his Bordavii. There were people like Bruno Callahan and others, Tanisari, and you know, they taught them. They each had a different aspect. And then coming to Pretoria, gee, was what an amazing experience. There were people like Charles Aronio, Louis Nell, Tiens Roos, Edwin. Yeah, I was just exposed to all this knowledge and people, and they each had different aspects of. Charles is a big artist. He taught me the art behind the whole thing. And a person like Tiens Roos, he was into little marmaids. You could get the most amazing small marmaids from Bordavii, for Natalensis. So each person taught me something else. Louis Nell, a very good artist as well. And they guide you. But you know, it's not only the big names. There are people in clubs that's not well known, but they got a wealth of knowledge. And you know, you go to a meeting and you discuss a tree, and a person you don't even think of, he will say, you know, my experience with this or this tree is this and this, and you learn from that, which is great. So I was very fortunate to, throughout my whole career with bonsai, to being exposed to people with knowledge, and they taught me a lot. Using indigenous trees in South Africa is not something new. I remember I don't remember, but I've seen writings up on indigenous trees from Pretoria Bonsai Kai. They had little booklets in the early 1970s. I think they started 72, and already then they were doing ficus and acacias and olives and that. So it's not a new thing. I just think we stagnated a bit on finding more trees than those original ones they started and had success with. But lately there's a big drive towards finding more indigenous species suitable. There's a big drive in, you know, we're all going green, we're worried about the global warming and pollution and all that, so a lot of people were very concerned about that, and that gives a emphasis on using indigenous. A book like Liam O'Flaherty's, you won't believe the interest he had, and people phoning him, and how many books he sold. So there's a big drive towards indigenous. I don't think there's special challenges. Our trees are very suited. You know, they belong here. They belong in our climates. You don't have to do much special. You just apply the techniques that we've learned from other people and Japanese and that. So no big challenges, I think. If you learn some aspects about a tree, and when to plant and when to water and when to protect, they as successful as a lot of exotics, and I think even more because they belong here. So styling, yes, they definitely drive me towards trying more natural styles that we see in South Africa. You know, if you drive in the veld and you see a flat crown acacia, gee, I'd like to have that on my shelf. And seeing a nice big baobab up in Limpopo, I'd like to have that on my shelf. And same with ficus, you know, seeing the typical ficus on a riverbed, why not have that on your shelf? So yeah, the styles, they drive me to using more indigenous and using our styles that you see out in the veld more and more. And I think it's a general thing with people doing bonsai in South Africa at the moment. I think there's a big future for bonsai in South Africa. You know, COVID gave us a knock, especially up here in Gauteng. A lot of people, well, we couldn't go, and then after opening up again, a lot of people didn't go back. I think 2 or 3 clubs closed down. But then there's new clubs opening up at the moment in Gauteng. And what's very nice is that there's more and more young people going to bonsai clubs. Scholars even, and students, and young working people. So the young people are getting into bonsai, and like I've mentioned, there's a big drive towards indigenous. And I think, you know, we've got 1,600 indigenous trees in South Africa, and only a handful has been tried on bonsai. I think we in the future going to discover a lot of trees suitable. There's a big drive. There's people that concentrates on that, and I really think the future of bonsai in South Africa is big. And I'm excited about that. I hope I can still be around and see that and enjoy that. You know, putting up shows, putting up in Gauteng, we got brat meetings, which is attended very well lately, and conventions. I myself, I'm going to the ABC 6. I'm very excited about that, and I hope more and more people will enroll and go, because you learn a lot there, and you mingle with like-minded people. Which is great, not only learning bonsai, but making friends in the bonsai circles. And I'm very excited. I think there's a future, and I hope to be part of it as it evolves.